Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It is reported today, July 9th, 2015, that the Raiders quarterback Ken Stabler has died. Apparently, he died yesterday, July 8th, a date connected to his Super Bowl win and more, which we'll get into. Right away, when I saw this ESPN story, what stood out to me was this time of 5:20. If you follow my work, you know I talk about the number 52 a lot. At the conclusion of Super Bowl 49, I said to watch for the numbers 52 and 144 this year. And with regards to Ken Stabler, not only does he have this video running 5 minutes and 20 seconds, he was the 52nd pick of the 1968 draft by the Raiders. So there's a lot here, Truth Seeker. Let's go through it piece by piece. They called Ken Stabler the Snake, which has gematria of 38 and 47, just like Raiders. So the QB nickname connecting to the team. And that number 47, the reverse of that 74, was big in Ken Stabler's career, which we'll get to. So like I said, I've been saying watch out for the number 52 this year. It seems to be very much connected to the Pope's visit. The Pope is coming September 23rd, the 266th Pope, 266th day. Ken Stabler's death comes 77 days before the Pope's visit. Pope has that gematria of 52. That date of September 23rd is also the date of Yom Kippur, Truth Seeker. And I'll just show you this real quick. Like I said at the conclusion of the Super Bowl, the numbers to watch for were 52 and 144. This year, the Pope and Yom Kippur fall on September 23rd, a 52 and 144 pairing. I didn't know that's what it meant at the conclusion of the Super Bowl, but I knew somehow those numbers were going to come together and it was going to be big. I knew that because the two teams that met in the Super Bowl both came in with 14 and 4 records. They met in Glendale, Arizona, which I'll just show you what it sums to. 144. It was the first Super Bowl to have a Scientology commercial. Important numbers. Going into the Super Bowl, I was saying how all season it was all about 44. The Patriots won in the 44th anniversary of being in their conference. Notice how 44 has this 144 connection as well. So, Ken Stabler, he dies. He played for a team in California. This year, California, the San Francisco 49ers are hosting the Super Bowl. Notice that California has Pythagorean gematria of 52. Again, Ken Stabler was the 52nd pick in the 68 draft. Notice that Ken Stabler wore the number 12. In this past year's Final Four teams, the weekend before the Super Bowl was decided, 3 of the quarterbacks wore the number 12. Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers. The only one that didn't was Russell Wilson, who wore 3. But the numerology of 12 is 1 plus 2 equals 3, so 12 even has a connection to 3. All 4 quarterbacks had numerology of 3. And just notice Ken Stabler wore this 12. And when I think of Tom Brady, who won this last year's Super Bowl, Tom Brady, his success, his first Super Bowl, was because the Raiders had a Super Bowl stolen from them. Tom Brady fumbled the ball at the end of the game. The Raiders recovered. It should have been game over. The Raiders should have been in the Super Bowl. But no. Refs blow the whistle, determine it wasn't a fumble, it was an incomplete pass. Then in the offseason, they made a new rule to justify the call. They called it the tuck rule. Big joke, Truth Seeker. But anyway, Tom Brady this past season in Super Bowl 49, the one where I said watch for the numbers 52 and 144, he became the most winningest quarterback in Super Bowl history and first to start in 6 Super Bowls, going 4-2 now, with his only 2 losses coming against the New York Giants. So Ken Stabler connected to the Raiders, who are connected to Tom Brady's legacy. His full name, Kenneth Michael Stabler, has Pythagorean gematria of 88. That's like Californian simple English. Pythagorean California is 52, simple English 88. Kenneth Michael Stabler, 88. With the S exception, his name sums to 97. With the K exception, too, his name sums to 106. Should have wrote that up here. Another number getting coded a lot lately. Notice his death is reported on the 9th day of the 7th month, July 9th. Kind of like his name. The name Ken Stabler in Pythagorean gematria, S exception, sums to 44, the kill number. What he went by. He was born Christmas Day in 45. Date with numerology of 101, 29, and 82. Remember that 82. I'll show you how that connects to his career stats. Christmas, the day he was born on, has gematria of 110, infamous number connected to the president. Just kind of reminds me how we have the 44th president right now. Could be a coincidence. Just want to show you that little gematria connection. The date he died on has numerology of 50 and 23. Notice that Ken Stabler was the 74 MVP. We talk about 74 a lot. Sometimes I call it the number of the martyr because Jesus and cross summed to 74. Jesus crucified at 33. In his career with the Raiders, he won 74 games with them. 74 games won, also the MVP in the 74 season. Played with the Raiders from 70 to 79. He won the Super Bowl with the Raiders January 9th, 1977. This date has numerology of 106, the number being coded into oh so much right now. The word prophecy equals 106. Recently in sports, there was a no-hitter with 106 pitches, 16 strikeouts, and on a date with 61 numerology. This date also has connections to the number 87. He died on the 8th day of the 7th month, the 8th of July. In some parts of the world, it's written that way, 8/7. His Super Bowl connected to his date of death. He was drafted in the 68 season. 68 was a big year, True Seeker. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on April 4th. World Trade Center construction started that year. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. Space Odyssey 2001 came out. Big year. 73 is the year World Trade Center opened, also on April 4th, 5-year anniversary of the MLK assassination. '74 regular season games with the Raiders, 74 MVP. They're talking about this Sea of Hands on ESPN, this big play he made in the 74 playoffs against Miami. Sea of Hands has gematria of 38, like the snake in Raiders, 47, like the reverse of 74, and 56. All these numbers have 11 numerology. Those numbers reflecting in his career. In his career, he had more interceptions than touchdowns. He threw 222 interceptions, 194 touchdowns. What's interesting about 222 is its connection to the word Armageddon, just like his life number of 82. Something is being foreshadowed through all these connecting stories, the repeated numbers, all the tragedy. So check it out, True Seeker. He had 96 wins. 96 connects to things in San Francisco, such as the fault line that's close by. San Andreas has a simple English gematria of 96. There's been a lot of foreshadowing for the Golden Gate Bridge. The Golden Gate Bridge sums to 96. And with regards to Golden Gate, there's a connection here to September 23rd. Golden Gate in Jewish gematria alone sums to 239, a lot like 23rd day, 9th month, September 23rd. The 52nd prime number, True Seeker, is also this same thing, 239, and we started with 52, how Ken Stabler was the 52nd pick overall. So San Andreas, Golden Gate Bridge, the word Freemasons 96, Satanism's 96. The Church of Satan was established in San Francisco in the year 66, the same year that the first Super Bowl occurred. That was the 47th season of the NFL. The word knowledge also has gematria of 96. They say Lucifer is the keeper of knowledge. Lucifer has gematria of 74. Talked about all the 74 connections. In his career, he had 96 wins, 49 losses. Think about 49 to the region. Home of the 49ers who joined the NFL in 49. He died of colon cancer, supposedly, which has Pythagorean gematria of 49. Plus, it's CC, like 33. The number of revelation is 49. 49ers hosting the Super Bowl this coming year, February 7th, 2016. Super Bowl 50. They're not using the Roman numerals this year. It's the Jubilee. They said that Stabler, let's see. Football Nation says that Stabler was the 27th greatest quarterback of all time. We know from numerology studies that 27 is a fateful number, especially with rock stars. I've done research on the rock stars who've died at 27. The majority of them have had life numbers of 27 to boot. And the Super Bowl this year will be on 2/7. In Santa Clara, California, which has gematria of 79, like the date of his reported death. A lot like the word murder. Santa Clara 27, California 52, put it together, 79. Stabler's stats. Also, True Seeker, with regards to the region, San Francisco has Pythagorean gematria of 50. They're hosting Super Bowl 50. It's even by the numbers. I'm just showing you how deep this numbers game is in pro sports. If you haven't seen my other posts, mini posts on pro sports and numerology, please check them out. Fascinating stuff you want to know. The word 50, True Seeker, has gematria of 66. And I just bring that up because the first Super Bowl was hosted in the 66 season. Church of Satan established in 66 in San Francisco. Them hosting Super Bowl 50. This year they had their rookie who wore the number 50 and who was one of their better players just retire out of nowhere in the offseason. The 49ers had an unprecedented offseason this year with so many players just leaving and quitting, star players, young players. Notice that Borland, this guy who left, who wore 50, also has that number 66. It'll be in Levi's Stadium this year. Lots of interesting numerology here. I don't want to overdo you. But also, True Seeker, in the Bay Area, more foreshadowing for possibly some gloom and doom. The 49ers' new head coach has a birthday that connects to the date the Titanic sank on. He also turned 47 this year, significant number to the NFL. NFL, again, it was their 47th season that had the first Super Bowl. This year, San Francisco's hosting the Super Bowl. Notice he was born in 68, Tom Selleck. Same year that Ken Stabler was drafted. The year Tom Selleck was born. From the date of his death to the Pope's visit, September 23rd, which you're talking about, is a span of 77 days or 11 weeks. And with regards to NFL in 66, True Seeker, check it out in Jewish gematria. 66 NFL, year of the first Super Bowl. Special number to San Francisco, 50. They call it the NFL America's game. America in Pythagorean gematria sums to 32. This website doesn't do Pythagorean gematria. Whoops. But America in simple English gematria sums to 50, like the number of states. And I'm glad that just popped up accidentally, American Dream, because it reminds me that WrestleMania 31 was hosted in San Francisco earlier this year. Lots of foreshadowing for the Bay Area, lots of numbers getting coded in all these events, which I've documented on my blog. But I have no doubt that Ken Stabler's death, at least as it is reported, it's possible he faked his death, is part of this numbers thing we've decoded. All the numbers that we just talked about in this post are the same numbers that we're decoding in all the other events. Him having the Super Bowl with the numerology connected to his death and the number 106 is quite condemning. I mean, everything right now is 106. church shootings, plane crashes, no hitters, Super Bowl MVP QBs, Donald Trump headlines, Bill Cosby headlines, and everything else in between. All you got to do is follow this video channel to see exactly what I'm talking about. So if Ken Stabler really died, I have no doubt he was murdered. It's either that or they're faking it. One or the other. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time. Encore, let's close by watching ESPN's 5-minute and 20-second segment in tribute to Ken Stabler.
Let's welcome in our Tom Jackson, ESPN NFL analyst, for years played for the Denver Broncos. That mile-high crush defense in the 1970s. He squared off numerous times against Ken Stabler and that old Raiders-Broncos rivalry, which they remember so often, so well out in Denver and in Oakland. Tom, just your thoughts about playing against somebody like Ken Stabler, particularly for our younger viewers tonight, Tom, that maybe don't think of the Raiders as the dynasty that they used to be. Can you help them maybe understand what kind of competitor this man was?
Well, he was a good quarterback, and especially under pressure at the end of games, those situations that we think of now, we say 2-minute drill and what can a quarterback do with the last drive? I understand why Coach Madden would say that if I had one quarterback to pick for one drive, I would pick Kenny because during the heyday in the 70s of the Raiders and even into the early 80s, but with Snake in the 70s, there wasn't a better quarterback at the end of a game. If you needed to get a score, there wasn't a better quarterback than Kenny Stabler. And, I know that over the last few years, since his career ended, I've always wondered how it is that Kenny Stabler is not in the Hall of Fame. It's a miscarriage of sports justice, if you will, the fact that he is not in the Hall of Fame. He was as good a quarterback as I ever saw.
That is some strong words from Tom Jackson, who saw some incredible quarterbacks. And Tom, you're right. I mean, just looking at it on the merits, you don't need to hear it from me. Of course, you played at the highest level, but 15 years in the league, 10 for the Raiders, the John Madden seal of approval, the 1974 MVP, a Super Bowl champion. What else do you have to do? Can you give me maybe a specific anecdotal moment? Because I mentioned that Raiders-Broncos rivalry, which I remember so well. Go ahead. What do you got?
I can. We played them in Denver. It's a regular season game. If anybody looks it up, the score is about, I won't remember the exact date or the exact score, but they end up beating us by, well, let me tell it kind of chronologically the way it happens. We actually get a lead on them, and maybe we're leading 14-7. And I'm feeling pretty good. It's in Mile High Stadium. We kick off, and we pin them literally inside their own 10-yard line. Kenny Stabler comes up to the line of scrimmage, and he looked across at me, and he winked. He just winked at me. And when Coach Madden talks about his cool, I think this exemplifies it. He winked at me. Maybe it's about 10 minutes left in the third quarter, and the final score of that game ended up being about 42-14 Raiders. And all I could think was, I thought Snake knew exactly what he was getting ready to do to us, and he was letting me in on the secret before it actually happened.
That's amazing. The epitome of cool.
Did you guys just listen to that? The final score of 42-14. It was like he was letting him in on the secret. Sometimes I think these guys just want to come out and admit the truth.
Everybody we've talked to tonight said he was the epitome of cool, the little wink to make it happen. It's an amazing rivalry you two had, and I know you're a Broncos Ring of Famer, and you are advocating for this gentleman to be a Hall of Famer, and maybe posthumously he will be. Last thing before I let you go, how do you think Ken Stabler should be remembered? Because the quarterback game, as you know, Tom, as well as anybody, being a defensive guy that was stopping guys for a long time, the quarterback position has evolved so much to prototypical passing, West Coast offense, short dump out passes. Does that make you appreciate a guy that essentially was gambling as much as he was in terms of his ability and how fun he was to watch, considering today the game has become so regimented?
Well, I think that he was still very exacting at his craft because as much as he loved to hit Cliff Branch with deep balls, his expertise at throwing the Bolitnikov,
Oh, yeah.
at throwing the Casper in the short game, I mean, he was accomplished at all levels. And I think that if anybody wants a real memory of Snake Stabler, it is that he loved life around football. I mean, you know, there's nobody who enjoyed life more than Kenny did, and nobody who was as good a quarterback and professional when he stepped in between the lines as Kenny Stabler. I don't know of a lot of guys who have done it better than Snake did.
That's so well said. The connections with Dave Casper and the great Fred Bolitnikov, who was such a good wide receiver. College football's Bolitnikov Award is named after him, and a lot of those passes came as a result of throwing them from Kenny Stabler. He's going to be missed in Tuscaloosa. He's going to be missed in Oakland, and he's going to be missed by everybody that had a chance to watch him play. Truly one of a kind. He was 69 years old, and we got some great perspective tonight from the great Tom Jackson.
All right, so there it was. One last point. We started with him being the 52nd pick, being connected to Pope Francis. I just want to show you how the gematria of Pope Francis syncs up with San Francisco, which syncs up with Golden State. There's been a lot of emphasis on the Bay Area. Multiple sports, multiple news stories. It's all taking us somewhere. This is the web we are decoding. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.